from WOKR, Rochester. This is News Source 13 This Morning.
Good morning. It is almost 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning, October 19th. I'm Kathy Kriz.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Glenn Johnson. You may have noticed that we're one person shy this morning.
We're missing Doug this morning. He has laryngitis, can't talk, which is a rarity for Doug Emblidge.
That's right. It takes a lot to keep Doug quiet, doesn't it?
He's been wandering around the newsroom and through the studio. I keep telling him, go home.
Get some rest.
Got to relax. He's a little sad, you know, because Tom is leaving us and he wants to say goodbye too.
That's right. We should point out Tom George is no longer going to... This is actually Tom's last day here at Channel 13.
It's very, very sad. And we'll talk with him a little bit more on that a little later.
In fact, in just a couple of minutes. First, we're going to take a look at our weather. And looks like we got a nice day coming our way. Lots of sunshine today. Now, still a little bit on the cool side. We're starting out in the 40s this morning, but it should turn out to be a nice afternoon. The high temperature is going to be near 60 degrees. It is time now for the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. Hey, do you want me to I can take today off? This is the last day. I was going to come in tomorrow, Glenn.
You were?
Yeah. I can still do that if you want me to.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You must.
Tom.
Go ahead. No, I'm going to work right out through the week here.
Okay.
I'm just checking the computer in front of me here, and we're in good shape. Where roads are dry, we don't find anything from overnight work delays anywhere. Glenn's given us a good forecast to travel around on this morning. It looks like if you're sneaking out of the house right now, you're in good shape. We'll give you an update here shortly. With the traffic, I'm Tom George.
Thank you, Tom. It's 6:01 now. The Rochester sailor injured in the attack on the USS Cole returns to Rochester later this morning. Ed Love, a Marshall High School graduate, suffered a ruptured eardrum in the blast. 17 sailors died in that explosion. Yesterday, thousands of people traveled to the Norfolk Naval Base to honor those injured and killed on board the USS Cole. President Clinton praised the Cole's crew and asked Americans to thank the men and women of the armed forces.
Their tragic loss reminds us that even when America is not at war, the men and women of our military still risk their lives for peace.
The USS Cole remains in the Yemen port of Aden. Its crew is working around the clock to repair the ship. More violence broke out in the West Bank and Gaza in spite of a ceasefire agreement between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Several Palestinians suspected in last week's mob killing of 2 Israeli soldiers are now under arrest. Meanwhile, Israeli and Palestinian security teams moved in to enforce the new agreement, and Israeli tanks withdrew from the outskirts of the West Bank. A local woman attacked 12 years ago is using cyberspace to keep her attacker behind bars. Gina Golding was stabbed 11 times by her former husband in 1988. Now she's collecting signatures online to convince a parole board to keep him in prison. Gina's sister says the website not only helps her sister with her goal, it makes dealing with the memories of what happened a little easier.
It's just wonderful to know that people care and that total strangers will come out and help. It's a great feeling.
The website has only been up and running a few days, but Gina has already received more than 200 signatures. If you want to take a look at that website, check out the address on our screen. We have a follow-up to the story involving gravestones found at a Chili home. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies say more than a dozen headstones confiscated from this house apparently weren't stolen. Officers say a monument shop owner identified the stones and said he legally sold them to the man who lived at the house. The headstones were part of a yard display that also included a coffin and plastic skulls. Genesee Brewery stockholders are expected to vote today on a proposed management buyout. In August, we found that CEO Tom Hubbard is leading a group of 8 investors who want to buy the brewery and its brand names. A host of loans, grants, and other business incentives helped seal the $22 million deal. The plan keeps the brewery and its 300 employees here in Rochester. Hurt by a slowdown in film sales, Eastman Kodak's earnings in the third quarter are down from a year ago. Earnings were $430 million. That's compared to $466 million for the third quarter last year. Overall sales climbed 5%. Kodak says retailers have cut their orders and the company plans to scale back production. Social Security recipients are getting fatter checks next year. Inflation picked up enough speed to bump the benefits up by 3.5%. That's the biggest increase in nearly a decade. The money will begin showing up in checks in January. The average monthly check will go up by about $29. Glenn Johnson's going to have our forecast when we come back.
Yeah, improving weather conditions, and we're going to talk more about that. But first, we have a member of the Channel 13 family that, well, he's moving on. Stan Munro is going to tell us about it.
Tom George is leaving us after 17 years.
Yep.
What was your favorite part?
Oh, just working with the greatest crew, honestly, folks, the greatest crew in television I've ever. This morning show is amazing. It really is. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I am. Oh, stop.
I'm going to get him all emotional again. You're going to break. I know what's going to happen.
You're watching News Source 13 with Kathy Kriz, Doug Emblidge, meteorologist Glenn Johnson, and Stan Munro. News Source 13, more local news, more local experience.
6:07 on this Thursday morning. If you're just tuning in, Doug is sick this morning. No voice.
A little
so
under the
he's not
weather,
with us,
I would
but
say, yeah.
he's actually wandering around, but he's not on the set with us this morning.
Just
we
can't
missed
talk.
him.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, our weather finally turned around by, I don't know, about 5 o'clock yesterday evening. I was noticing that the sun was finally out, some blue sky. You're going to see more of that today?
Well, if you're wondering what that orange glow was,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I know, 4 days you said, right?
Yeah, I think it was Saturday the last time we saw any kind of substantial sunshine, and it looks like we're going to find more of that orange glow again today. We're starting out with some cool weather. Here's a check of live neighborhood weather. We start off in the city of Rochester. You can see the temperature dropped overnight because our skies cleared very nicely. You can see the temperature there is at 49 degrees. Canandaigua, just a little bit cooler. They're at 48 degrees. Now, notice the relative humidity. That's on the bottom right side of the screen there. It's up to 96%. There may be some patchy fog, especially in some of the valleys out that way. And Newark is also at 49 degrees. Here's a look at our weather forecast for today. Look for a fair amount of sunshine. And after this cool start that we're going to find, it should turn out to be a nice afternoon. The high temperature should be very close to 60. Now at the airport now, we just have a few scattered clouds. We'll call it mainly clear. Temperature at the airport now, the National Weather Service has actually dropped a few more degrees. We're down to 47 degrees, and you can see the relative humidity is up to 96%. Temperatures along the East Coast are in the 50s, but then you get out through, say, Flint, Michigan. They're down into the 30s. And there's not much in the way of clouds out this way. Look at all this clear weather going all the way out through the Midwest. And essentially, this is going to be our weather over the next couple of days. We're going to find a fair amount of sunshine going into the weekend. Pretty significant storm system moving up the East Coast. This is the remnants of Hurricane Michael as it moves out into the Atlantic. And you can see some of the heavy rain they're getting along the East Coast. Still some high winds for, say, the Boston area by later today. Here's an up-close view in the satellite image. You can see the patchy nature of some of the clouds. This may be just a little bit of ground fog in some of the valleys, but overall, again, it's going to turn out to be a pretty pleasant day. Here's a look at the national hemisphere, and there is Michael. Winds at about 80 miles per hour, and it's not unusual, certainly, to find a tropical disturbance, even though it's kind of late in the hurricane season. Not affecting the East Coast directly, but probably getting some high surf for, say, the Carolinas and the island of Bermuda, also getting some high surf also. This moisture and energy is actually going to move up into northern New England and actually produce a very strong area of low pressure for some of the folks up that way, and that'll pick up some of the winds, as we mentioned, along the East Coast. There's actually a front that's going through the area right now, and that's just going to reinforce some of these cool temperatures that we have, at least for today. Now, the cool weather is not going to last all that long. Take a look at the forecast map, and this is going into Friday. Watch what happens. Another warm front begins to overspread the Great Lakes. That means our winds are going to be shifting a little bit. They're going to come out of the southwest, and our temperatures are going to start to warm up, at least for tomorrow. We should be some 10 degrees warmer tomorrow in the upper 60s, very close to about 70. And it'd be nice to keep that through the weekend, right? But look at this. Here's another cold front behind it. And these weather systems are moving through pretty rapidly. So the front comes through, the cold front comes through Saturday. So that starts to drop our temperature down through the weekend. Now, we think we're going to find some very nice weather through the weekend with a fair amount of sunshine, but the temperature is going to be dropping through the 60s and 50s. Here's a look at our weather forecast in detail. Again, a good deal of sunshine, maybe a little patchy fog to start out. Temperatures in the 40s this morning. We think by lunchtime we're already at least into the mid-50s, and the high temperature should be very close to 60 by the afternoon. Then for tonight, we're going to find clear skies again. Again, a little bit of fog in some of the valleys. Temperature is going to drop to about 42 degrees and maybe a little cooler also in the valley south of Rochester. 3-day outlook, we're going to find some breezy conditions. It's going to be noticeably warmer. Temperatures should be approaching 70, at least on Friday. Then notice that cool front goes down, comes through, and the temperature goes down with partial sunshine for Saturday and Sunday. You can see by Sunday, we think most of the day is going to be spent in the 50s, but mainly dry weather. That's certainly some good news if you're still working on those Halloween decorations outside. And maybe outside raking the leaves this weekend. The weather will cooperate.
Still need to plant my tulip bulbs for the spring.
Oh, you
so
haven't
this looks
gotten
like
to
a
that
good weekend to do it now.
I think this will be good.
It's on my list. There are a couple things going on. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is going to have families start competing together. They're going to invite a parent and child to play as a team, so it's not going to get too ugly, we hope. Family program is going to feature 2 hot seats, and parent and child will sit face-to-face with Regis. One of the family editions is going to start airing next month, and if you want to be part, maybe you'd like to audition with one of your family members, you can go to www.abc.com and find out some new information. Also, just want to touch really quick, there was someone who paid $2.1 million at an auction the other day on Tuesday for the piano that John Lennon composed Imagine on.
Right.
Finally found out who it is. Do you know?
I have no idea.
George Michael.
Oh, really? The singer?
Yeah.
George Michael.
The singer George Michael. And his spokesperson says he's just so excited to have got it at the moment that we don't know what will happen to it. He feels it's a piece of history, and he wants it to stay in the UK. Very interesting.
He can afford it.
So the secret is out. Yeah, he can afford $2.1 million. Still ahead on NewsSource13 this morning, we'll tell you what Doug Flutie had to say about taking over as quarterback for the Bills. But first, the latest on the fighting in the Middle East. Stay with us.
NewsSource13, brought to you by International Delight.
You're watching News Source 13 with Kathy Kriz, Doug Emblidge, Meteorologist Glenn Johnson, and Stan Munro.
It is 6:15 now. Here are the headlines this Thursday morning. A plan to buy out the Genesee Brewery by management moves forward today with a vote. Stockholders will decide whether the move should happen. 2 General Cinema theaters are closing today in our area. The movie houses at Marketplace and Pittsford won't be open anymore. General Cinema says area multiplexes hurt business. And Kodak third-quarter earnings were down from the same time last year, but sales climbed 5%. Kodak says it will slow down production because fewer orders are coming in. The clock is ticking for tonight's deadline to end the violence in the Mideast. ABC's Antonio Mora has the latest.
Good morning. Here are the top stories from ABC News. Israelis and Palestinians are watching to see if today's deadline to end the violence in the region will actually restore calm. The number of clashes has subsided since Tuesday's agreement. The Senate has passed a measure to ease decades-old sanctions against Cuba. President Clinton is expected to sign the bill, which allows sales of food to Cuba for the first time in 40 years. It had overwhelming bipartisan support.
It may take years to repair the damage that we have created by these unilateral sanctions, but this is a start.
But critics say the legislation is only symbolic because it does not allow banks or the government to fund shipments of food or medicine. Now, here is some of what to look for in the day ahead. A strategy session on Capitol Hill between President Clinton and congressional Democrats. Congress is itching to adjourn for the November elections. George W. Bush and Al Gore take their campaigns to the TV talk shows. Bush tapes an appearance on David Letterman, while Gore visits Regis Philbin and Rosie O'Donnell. Problems with the Snake River are a major focus as an environmental group updates its list of endangered rivers. And 4,000 disabled athletes from around the world are in Sydney, Australia for the Paralympics. It's the largest gathering ever for those games. Join us later on Good Morning America and hear about a new study on whether marijuana is addictive. The results may surprise you. That is after your local news. And those are some of the stories ABC News is following at this hour. Now back to you.
Still ahead on NewsSource13, we're going to check in with Stan Munro. But first, why a key player on the Sabres has to sit out the next few games. Stay with us. Glenn has a quick weather update now.
Yeah, pretty good day coming our way. We're going to find lots of sunshine finally making a return now. We start out in the 40s this morning, so you certainly need the jacket, but by the afternoon it's going to turn mild. The high temperature should be up around 60 degrees. Time to say hello to TG.
Boo! Now you see why they didn't put this on TV all this time.
There you are.
There we are. See? You guys want to maintain viewers, don't you? Anyway, the roads are dry this morning, folks. They're going to be paving out in Penfield at Atlantic Avenue and Wayland Road, and they'll start paving duties out there about 7:30 this morning. He'll alternate traffic in there. That's the early go as far as any work delays we've got right now. The rest of this is in pretty good shape, and we'll update you here shortly. With your traffic, I'm Tom George.
Tom, Buffalo Bills' Doug Flutie, who's taking over for an injured Rob Johnson, is only temporary. Mike Catalana has the details in this morning's sports.
Good morning. The Bills will get back on the practice field today, getting ready for the Vikings. That game comes up on Sunday in Minnesota. The Bills are 6.5-point underdogs. Doug Flutie takes over at quarterback because of the injury to Rob Johnson. Yesterday, Flutie said he just wants to help the team win. And when asked about the future and what happens if he plays well until Johnson is healthy enough to return, Flutie said, I'm the backup. Rob's the starter. We'll see what happens in a month. The Redskins have some quarterback troubles, too. Starter Brad Johnson and his agent have cut off talks for a new contract. They say Johnson plans on becoming a free agent at the end of the year. Hey, they're getting ready in New York for the Subway Series. This is Shea Stadium, where that'll be quiet until next week. The Yanks and the Mets will be working out the Subway Series that begins at Yankee Stadium on Saturday. And the Sabres have lost defenseman Alexei Zhitnik for the next 4 games because of an illegal hit at the end of the game against the Canadiens. A penalty was called on that play, and the Canadiens scored the game winner on the power play. That's sports this morning. I'm Mike Catalana.
Still ahead this morning, Stan Munro says goodbye to one of the members of our NewsSource13 family. We'll be right back.
For the latest weather information, call the Weatherline Forecast Service, sponsored by the Shopping Bag and updated by NewsSource13's weather team at 334-0013.
NewsSource 13, brought to you by Buick.
It is 6:24, and it's time to check in once more with NewsSource13 Stan Munro.
Hey guys, it's kind of a special day because the reason why Stan is out there is a member of our Channel 13 family is heading off to bigger and better things, probably.
It is a little. Here, let me just get that. Sorry. A little bit right there. That's better. How do you say goodbye to somebody?
See ya.
Not like that.
Okay.
Are you gonna miss it here?
Yeah, I am. Why don't you meet the people though that are really behind me here, the staff that puts this whole thing together? I mean, those folks that work really hard. They're around the room in there.
Let's do that. Yeah, because so far everybody's saying, yeah, we're gonna miss them. We're gonna miss them. But let's go up to the producer here, Kate McLean. Are you really gonna miss him?
Yeah, I am.
Why are you having to look? Did he write something out for you to say?
Just a couple notes, you know, for traffic. Yeah.
See. All right, let's have somebody. Joyce, you gonna miss Tom?
Tom? Oh, yes, I am. I love Tom. Tom and I are getting married. That's really why he's leaving. He wouldn't reveal his real reason for leaving, but company policy requires only one person to work at Metro Networks. And we will be getting married, and we're taking our honeymoon in Disney World.
Oh, that's sweet. How romantic.
I know, isn't it nice?
It is touching. Andy, you gonna miss him?
Yes, I will. I even wrote him a small poem. Tom, we'll miss you much. We do so care. Don't let the door hit your derriere.
Oh, I can't stand it. It was a very touching thing.
I didn't know I was getting married.
There's probably a lot more things you don't know about either.
Oh, dear. What are you saying, Stan? You got something set up here?
What?
Huh?
We do for the next time.
Oh.
What are you going to do to me now, Monroe?
Nothing, George. Don't worry about it.
Oh, my goodness.
Who do you want to thank?
Oh, well, I really want to thank 911 and DOT for the past year, 18 years. They have been a major valve in the heart of our business, and I just can't go out without saying thank you very much for all of their support and help.
They probably had something nice to say to you, too, but we're not over there. You're lucky.
Okay, so we need to point out that Tom is with us through the end of the week, so we still will hear from him tomorrow, correct?
What?
Okay. Contain yourself, Stan. I know it's tough.
You know, he's a great personality. We have fun with Tom, but one thing you should point out, when it comes to traffic, you want to get the information right Tom is the guy to get the
Yeah,
information
he has
right,
some
right?
inside sources that are just terrific.
Yeah, really makes a difference when you're heading out to work early in the morning or towards the evening. Our weather's certainly going to cooperate today. Lots of sunshine. We're starting out in the 40s this morning. The high temperature should be near 60.
All right, we have more ahead for you on News Source 13 this morning. At 6:32, stockholders in the Genesee Brewery are voting on a proposed buyout plan today. We'll preview that. At 6:46, with more earnings reports due out today, send the markets down even lower. More in business news. And at 6:50, how some community members are helping people with mental illness. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching News Source 13, honored with 2 of the highest awards in electronic journalism, the Edward R. Murrow Awards for Overall Excellence and Best Newscast in the Nation. From WOKR, Rochester, this is News Source 13 This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:30 on this Thursday, the 19th of October. I'm Kathy Kriz.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Glenn Johnson. You may be able to tell, of course, we're one person shy today. Doug Emblidge feeling just a little under the weather.
Can't talk.
Lost the voice.
Yeah, he came in this morning, but
You know why you usually lose your voice?
speak. Yeah.
Too much talking.
Overused. But he's been sick over the past couple of days, and it finally caught up with him.
He's
so
been fighting it
hopefully
anyway.
he's resting.
Well, we got some pretty good weather to rest by anyway. We're going to find a nice day. Finally, a return to some sunshine today. Now, we're starting out on the cool side as usual. Temperatures in the 40s this morning. The high temperatures should be up around 60 degrees. Also, time to check in with Tom George. Kind of a special day, special week, because this is actually Tom's last couple of days here with Channel 13.
Yeah, by tomorrow, it's going to be a retirement for a little while anyway, before I find something to get back into. And somebody told me earlier, Glenn, that Doug was so emotionally distraught over me leaving. That's the reason he wasn't here. But you're saying he's sick now?
Well, actually, I could see him. He was dabbing his tie like this as he was walking out.
Yeah, right. We've got a good beginning here this morning, folks. We got a nice dry highway going on for you. The only work delay that's going to show up is about 7:30 this morning. They'll be paving out at Atlantic Avenue and Scribner Road, and they'll be doing that for the day with some alternating traffic. They'll start in about an hour. But we're in good shape, and we'll update you here shortly with your traffic. I'm Tom George.
Thank you, Tom. Today could be a new beginning for one of Rochester's oldest companies. Stockholders are expected to approve a management buyout of Genesee Brewery. CEO Tom Hubbard is leading a group of 8 investors who will buy the brewery and its brand names. A host of loans, grants, and other business incentives helped seal the $22 million deal. The plan keeps the brewery and its 300 employees here in Rochester. Kodak sales were up a bit, and earnings were down about 3% in the third quarter. Earnings totaled $430 million compared to $466 million for the third quarter last year. Overall sales were up 5%. But Kodak says many major retailers have cut back their film orders, forcing the company to take steps to reduce its inventory of film.
We'll try to reduce production schedules where we need to. We'll try to fill orders from existing inventory to get our existing inventory down so that we can better manage the business. That's what
Kodak says it will do some further cost cutting. The Democratic Chronicle quotes the chief financial officer as saying if there are some job cuts, they will be minor. Marshall High School graduate and Navy sailor Edward Love will return to Rochester this morning. He was injured in last week's attack on the USS Cole. Yesterday, thousands of people, including Love, attended a memorial service at the Norfolk Naval Base for the 17 sailors who were killed. President Clinton also paid his respects. At Marshall High School, members of the junior ROTC program are preparing for Love's return.
It's got to be really hard to suffer something like that, and you don't know how he feels, and right now what he needs is support.
The school plans on dedicating Saturday's playoff game to the former football player. Investigators say the son of Missouri Governor Mel Carnahan had told air traffic controllers about problems with his plane before it crashed on Monday. Everyone on board, including the governor, died. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Roger Wilson was sworn in yesterday to serve the rest of Carnahan's term. Wilson was named acting governor a few hours after the crash, but he didn't take the oath of office until after Carnahan's body was positively identified. A Greece woman attacked 12 years ago is using the internet to keep her attacker in jail. Gina Golding was stabbed 11 times by her former husband in 1988. Now she's collecting signatures online to try to convince a parole board to keep him in prison. The website has only been up and running a few days, but Gina has already received more than 200 signatures. The United Way, in partnership with local law enforcement agencies, unveiled new technology that will help save precious time when it comes to finding missing children. It's called TRACK, which stands for Technology to Recover Abducted Kids. The system creates high-quality color photos and electronically sends them to the media within minutes. All local television stations will be outfitted with this new technology. It should be up and running next month. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies say more than a dozen headstones confiscated from a Chili home Monday night appear not to have been stolen. Officers say the owner of a monument shop identified the stones and says he legally sold them to the man who had lived there. The headstones were part of a yard display that also included a coffin and plastic skulls. They're brick-breaking, steel-bending men with a soft spot for the Bible. We're talking about the Power Team. The Christian alternative to the WWF performed at the Pierce Memorial Church before a sellout audience last night. The team uses stunts like brick-breaking to attract people to church.
People are interested in that, and so it's more of a way to reach out to them. So I think, you know, once they get there, they'll be like, hey, I think there's something really to these guys. Most people, when they wrestle, it's something negative, but here's somebody who's positive and trying to give me a good influence. So.
The Power Team even has its own television show. The group will be in Rochester over the next few days. It gets your attention.
It certainly does. Unusual, very unusual.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about finally a return to some sunshine. The question is, how long will that last? We're going to have a complete look at the weather forecast coming up.
And we're going to check in with NewsSource13 Stan Munro, helping us say goodbye to Tom George this week.
So, Dave, what do you really think of Tom George? Is that off? Oh, that's not on. No, that's not. Well, I think it might be time for him to get out. Yeah. Getting old, huh? You know, at 55, mine's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. The whole thing's kind of going, the whole package.
You know, I think in the last maybe a year or so, he's maybe been getting a little bit too big for his boots.
Yeah, I noticed that. His head wouldn't even fit through the door.
Ego
Big ego.
Did you notice when you came in?
Oh, yeah.
So,
see ya. Get out of here.
This portion of News Source 13 is brought to you by Rochester Gas and Electric. News Source 13 brought to you by Gary Johnston's RV.
You're watching News Source 13 with Kathy Kriz, Doug Emblidge, Meteorologist Glenn Johnson, and Stan Munro. News Source 13, more local news, more local experience.
As promised, the weather is turning around for us, just like you said, Glenn.
That's right. Everybody's been waiting very patiently for the sunshine to finally make a return, and it looks like your wait is definitely over. Now, we're getting off to a little bit of a cool start this morning. You certainly need the jacket. Here's a look at live neighborhood weather, and you can see our temperatures are in the 40s in most locations. Canandaigua, Newark, and Rochester is at 49 degrees. Up along the shoreline of Lake Ontario, temperatures actually still in the mid-50s. Here's a look at our weather forecast for today. Maybe a little bit of patchy light fog, especially in some of the outlying areas. Otherwise, we're going to find lots of sunshine through the afternoon. The high temperature should be near 60. Right now, we have mainly clear skies at the airport. Temperatures at 47 degrees, just a very light breeze out of the west. Also, notice the relative humidity. It's up to 96%. Anytime the humidity gets up there, especially during the overnight hours, and we have clear skies, that means there's the possibility of a little patchy fog, but nothing that's really going to slow you down this morning. Temperatures are in the 50s along the East Coast, and the mercury drops into the 30s at Flint, Michigan. Green Bay, Wisconsin, also in the 30s. And the reason why the temperature dropped there, of course, they've had mainly clear skies. And look at all this clear weather going all the way out to the Midwest. That essentially is going to be our weather over the next couple of days. Along the East Coast, they're developing a pretty strong storm system. This is Hurricane Michael as it moves up the East Coast. Lots of rain along the coast of Maine. They're also getting some very windy conditions there. But let's go in for a closer look here in Rochester. Just a few patches of clouds, or again, maybe a little bit of light ground fog down south of Rochester. Again, nothing that's really going to be a problem. Let's show you the national view, and there is Hurricane Michael. Winds have intensified at least somewhat over the last 12 hours. I think the winds are up around 80 miles per hour. Not unusual to have a tropical storm this late in the season. And it really hasn't affected anybody dramatically. It's brought some high surf around Bermuda and along the East Coast. And this is actually going to merge with a trough of low pressure through northern New England and will eventually bring some high winds for some of the coastal areas by later today. We got a very weak front that's that's moving through Rochester right now, but it's not producing much in the way of clouds. It doesn't have much moisture to work with. It's just going to reinforce some of the cool weather, at least for today. Now, we got some nice changes coming our way for tomorrow. Take a look at the forecast map. Now, this is going into Friday. The high-pressure system begins to move off the east coast, and we know when that happens, the winds start to shift out of the southwest. That means our temperatures are going to begin to warm up. So by tomorrow, we're back into the upper 60s, near 70 degrees. But what is very typical this time of the year, when we do get some unseasonably warm weather, it doesn't last all that long. And these weather systems are racing across the country. So here's our next cold front. When that passes by for the weekend, of course, the temperature is going to start heading down, and we'll cool things down, we think, once we get into Sunday. Here's a look at our weather forecast for today. Good deal of sunshine. Again, maybe a little patchy fog in some of the outlying areas. Our temperature starts in the upper 40s. By lunchtime, we're already into the mid-50s. And we're looking for a high temperature very close to 60 degrees. Then for tonight, we'll find mainly clear skies. Again, maybe a little bit of a valley fog developing. Temperature is going to fall into the lower 40s. Now, tomorrow, breezy at times, but it's going to be noticeably warmer with a lot of sunshine. Looks like we're back into the upper 60s. Once we get into Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny skies, but really some nice conditions again for the weekend. We're going to be in the low 60s on Saturday. And then I think by Sunday, most of the day is going to be spent in the 50s, but again, a fair amount of sunshine. So overall, we have really some typical fall weather for the upcoming weekend.
Looks like a good weekend. And you came through for Gene, our producer, who was having a wedding this weekend on Saturday.
That's right. You know he's counting on the weather.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watching your forecast. There's an interesting article in the paper in the living section this morning about families and dinner time. And even with all our busy schedules, there was a study that was done by a group. It's called Eating Patterns in America, and it says that 75% of the time, families are still getting together at the dining room table or kitchen table to have a meal together.
Right.
And I have to say, in our family, we make a point of sitting down.
It's
Same with you?
Oh, yeah. As much as we can, you know, that's the time when you share things across the family.
You can talk with each other, right?
That's right. Otherwise, everybody's so busy, you're going here and there.
It's really amazing, though, with all our crazy schedules and the kids' soccer games and lessons and whatever, that 75% people are sitting down eating, at least Americans are. It says you may not be eating the same thing and you may be eating out of the microwave, but at least you're sitting down and eating. So.
And you're talking, you're interacting.
Yes.
That's the key.
Very important. Still ahead on NewsSource 13, Rochester is lending a hand to those who suffer from mental illness. But first, is Microsoft going to beat Wall Street's expectations in their quarterly report? The details in business news. Stay with us.
You're watching NewsSource 13 with Kathy Kriz, Doug Emblidge, Meteorologist Glenn Johnson, and Stan Munro.
Here are the headlines this Thursday morning. A plan to buy out the Genesee Brewery by management moves forward today with a vote. Stockholders will decide whether the move should happen. 2 General Cinema theaters are closing today in our area. The movie houses at Marketplace in Pittsford won't be open anymore. General Cinema says area multiplexes hurt business. And Kodak's third quarter earnings were down from the same time last year, but sales climbed 5%. Kodak says it will slow down production because fewer orders are coming in. Microsoft did better than Wall Street expected in its latest quarter. Lori Rothman has the details in this morning's Bloomberg Business Report.
Good morning. Here on Wall Street, it's the morning after, but Asian and European markets have failed to build on Wednesday's Dow roller coaster ride. Indeed, in the wake of IBM's disappointing earnings report, which triggered a more than 400-point slide in the Dow in early Wednesday action, Microsoft came out with a positive report after the bell. Microsoft beat expectations on both the revenues and earnings fronts in the latest quarter. AOL, the world's largest internet company, also beat estimates by 1 penny. Now, today you'll want to be on the lookout for many more earnings reports, including reports from big companies Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Coors, and Mattel. As earnings reports continue to flood in, investors are considering several factors. Some call them the 5 E's. We're talking about energy, earnings, election, economy, and the euro, reflecting concern about performance overseas. When we return, we'll look at what came out of all that nail-biting in Wednesday's market action.
The Bloomberg Business Report is brought to you in part by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers.
By Wednesday's close, the markets had come a long way back, but not enough to finish the day higher. The Dow closed below the 10,000 level for the first time since March 15th. The Dow ended at 99.75, shedding 114 points. The S&P 500 fell 7, and the NASDAQ dropped 42 points. Some other corporate news today. Nokia, one of the world's leading cellular phone makers, has reported a 40% rise in its third quarter profits. Over at Ford, a 16% profit decline as the U.S. automaker felt the financial sting of the tire recall. I'm Lori Rothman.
Taking a look at some stocks of local interest now, Bausch & Lomb is down 88 cents. Chase is down $1.06. Eastman Chemical up 19 cents. Eastman Kodak up $1.81. Harris down 75 cents. IBM up $1.88. RGS down 56 cents. ExxonMobil down $1.25. Glenn has our travel forecast now.
Yeah, some pretty good weather locally. Nothing that's going to slow you down. We're going to find a lot of sunshine today. Eventually, the mercury is going to rise to about 60 degrees. And it's looking good along the East Coast. Maybe you got a connecting flight around New York City. Look for lots of sunshine. The only problem they're going to find around Boston and New York City, a little windy at times today. The high temperature should be in the middle 60s. Time to check in with Tom George. He's always got the latest, the greatest on the traffic.
Who's going to pick on you now, huh?
I don't know. We got to find some other baseball fan, I think, to get under my skin. I don't know.
I've got to get together with you and make a bet on this one. Since it's a Subway series, we do have to do something on this, Glenn. Let's get you to work on time. The expressways are doing fine. Couple of paving delays today. Over on the Chili Avenue area, they're going to pave near the 390 ramps. You know how busy that is in through there. 390 at Chili, actually Chili at 390, and they'll start about 7:30. In Penfield, they'll pave Atlantic Avenue near Scribner Road, and they'll start that also about 7:30 this morning. Looking at the rest of this morning, we're in good shape. We'll update you here shortly with the traffic. I'm Tom George.
A new program in our area is helping people with a mental illness. It's getting a lot of support from this community, and it's giving back a lot, too. Liz Bonus has more in today's Medical Minute.
Mike Timonovich takes a lot of pride in his work. He makes T-shirts for a living.
It's good work because I can see what's being done and I see the finished product and stuff like that.
It's also good work because, for a while, Mike couldn't make a living at all.
Load up.
He was diagnosed with a mental illness several years ago. Mike's now in treatment and works for DePaul's T-shirt factory in downtown Rochester. The T-shirt factory specifically hires those with mental challenges and teaches them a whole lot more than just job skills.
Problem solving in the workplace, getting to and work on time, promptly, being appropriately dressed for work and things like that, getting along with coworkers, problems that you run into when you are out in the community workforce.
Already since last December, Mike and his team here have made more than 10,000 of these T-shirts. Most of them have gone to local businesses right here in our own community. Businesses that support the mentally ill by giving their business to the T-shirt factory.
I first saw moodiness and withdrawal, and I said...
Organizations such as the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, or NAMI, say these types of programs send a message of hope to the mentally ill.
There is hope. We're coming with better and newer treatments for persons with mental illness. So there is hope, there is recovery.
Recovery that clearly gives back to our community. With your Medical Minute, I'm Liz Bonus for NewsSource 13.
Up next on NewsSource 13 this morning, Stan Munro. We're saying goodbye to Tom George this morning. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Jenny Ryan. Today at 5, flu season is on the way, and with flu shots late, what else can you do to boost your own immunity? We'll take a look at natural ways coming up.
Today at 5 on NewsSource 13. More local news, more local experience.
Ross, paranoid?
You are so paranoid.
Am I?
Yes.
Am I? Nah. Next, Friends.
Friends, tonight at 7, only on 13.
Time now to check in with Stan Munro, paying tribute to Tom George this morning.
You know, guys, before you get started, I got to tell you a story. I can remember going back 15 years ago. I was a young kid out of college, meteorologist. One of the first people I met here at the station was Tom George. And Tom, you were the host of Morning Break in the Morning with Wanda Miller.
Right.
And I can remember a guest did not show up for your show, and you came over to me and you said, "Kid, you may have to go on. We may have to interview."
I said, "Kid."
And yeah, and I think I said
back then you were.
I said, "Yes, Mr. George."
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. George.
I remember those days, Glenn. Gosh, you've been to the station now, what, 18 years?
Yeah, about 16 years.
Wow, my goodness, they haven't found you out yet, huh?
I'm still wet behind the ears, though.
What's up?
So you do remember that?
Oh,
Morning
sure.
Break show.
Oh, yeah, that was a great time. It really was. We did it in the studio. We did it out of Marketplace Mall. And that was, I did it the last year, and then they took the show off the air.
I do. You know what? We remember it, too. In fact,
oh no.
Why don't you take a look at this?
No. You ready for this? No, really?
Yeah.
Here we go.
And
Okay.
you can stir the pot.
Okay.
That's the simple job. That's
How
all
is-
there is with this sauce.
Okay. This is it.
We are now going to turn our attention to a topic that, well, most people probably are afraid to talk about. It's intimacy. What is needed for intimacy in the relationship? How?
Excuse me, Tom George, my name is Pat McCarthy. I'm the deputy county clerk.
We're
And
doing
there
this.
were just some charges filed in the county clerk's office this morning. Breaking and entering Rochester homes 5 mornings
Oh
a
my
week.
God.
Impersonating a newscaster and murdering your competition on rival networks.
Oh my God.
Thomas,
Wait a minute.
we got a show to do. Tom, where are you going?
I've got a show to go. I'll be right back, I guess. Holy fellas, we're on the air here, you know. You don't mind, can I have my rice read to me, please? Hold on a second now. Soup. When I think of soup, I think salt, sodium. Yes? Are they very expensive to keep? And, you know, like, for example, Clyde here is 60 pounds, and he's squeezing my shoulder.
The cross-country skis are designed so you start by just shuffling or walking on them. The idea is that if anybody that can walk should be able to ski.
We got troubles.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh my goodness, look at that. They're taking him away. I don't believe it. What is going on here? There he goes, off into the sunset.
Off into the sunset. Would you burn those tapes, please?
All righty.
Like that mustache, Tom.
Oh,
That
I
was
know.
cute.
I was told to shave that, Kathy. I did.
Very stylish, yeah.
All right.
Oh, the
Say goodbye to
memories.
Tom.
Oh, Tom.
You know what I'm going to miss is the laugh.
Yeah.
The laugh is what we're going to miss.
We had fun.
I'll see you
Well, we'll get
guys.
to talk to you tomorrow. At
I
least.
will. We'll talk tomorrow.
We'll be back.
Again, our temperature now at 48 degrees.
That's news for now. See you at 7:25.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Glenn Johnson. Your Thursday starting off with some cool weather. We're down into the middle 40s now with mainly clear skies, maybe a little bit of patchy fog, but we're going to find a good deal of sunshine today. The high temperature is going to be approaching 60. Now over to Tom George.
Looks good with expressways. It really does. Now, we got a couple of paving delays starting here about 7:30 this morning. They're going to pave Chili Avenue near the 390 ramps for the day. They're going to pave Atlantic Avenue near Scribner Road out in Penfield for the day. Those areas will run slow. We'll update with you right in. I'm Tom George.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is a NewsSource 13 update.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Kriz. It's 7:25. Weather and traffic reports are coming up. A vote is set for today that could set off changes at the Genesee Brewery. Stockholders will vote on a proposed management buyout. In August, we learned CEO Tom Hubbard is leading a group of 8 investors who want to buy the brewery and its brand names. A host of loans, grants, and other business incentives helped seal the $22 million deal. The plan keeps the brewery and its 300 employees here in Rochester. Going to the movies this weekend? Before you make plans, you should know that General Cinema is closing 2 of its theaters today. The company says megaplexes like Tinseltown and Gates and Regal Cinema have given other movie houses serious competition over the last few years. General Cinema is closing its Marketplace and Pittsford locations and filed Chapter 11. We have a follow-up to a story involving gravestones found at a Chili home. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies say more than a dozen headstones confiscated from this house apparently weren't stolen. Officers say a monument shop owner identified the stones and said he legally sold them to the man who lived at the house. The headstones were part of a yard display that also included a coffin and plastic skulls. A grant of almost $2 million will let 3 doctors at the University of Rochester Medical Center conduct research into women's health. The money comes from the National Institutes of Health. Most funding in women's health research goes to cancer studies and high-risk pregnancies. The new grant will back research in other important areas. And New York State lottery workers will row into Rochester in style later today. The Millennium Millions stretch limo Millipede will be here to promote the biggest game the state has ever seen. The jackpot is $90 million. Coming up at 7:56, a survivor of the USS Cole explosion is coming home. Here's meteorologist Glenn Johnson at Weather Center 13.
Hi, good morning, Kathy. It's been a long wait, but it looks like we're finally going to get a return to some very pleasant weather. What can you expect going into the weekend? The answer's next. Well, good morning. We're starting out with a little bit of patchy fog, some haze this morning, but it looks like it's going to turn out to be a nice day. The city of Rochester now, the temperature's at 49 degrees. Eventually, we're going to be up around 60. Here's a look at our satellite radar time lapse over the last couple of hours. Notice how things clear out very nicely, essentially from New York State all the way back to the west. And that's going to be our weather over the next couple of days. Now, it's going to be a little on the cool side today, but breezy and turning noticeably warmer for tomorrow. We're back well into the 60s tomorrow. Now, weather forecast then, we're looking at, again, some fog, some haze early this morning. Otherwise, a good deal of sunshine today. The high temperature should be near 60. Then for tonight, we'll find clear skies. Again, a little bit of patchy valley fog. Temperature dropping into the lower 40s. 3-day outlook Friday, breezy, should be noticeably warmer. We're in the 60s. Then Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny skies, and the temperature cools back into the 50s. Here's Tom George. He's got the latest on the morning commute.
Glenn, we're starting to fill up with some of the crowd now on the expressways. To the right-hand side of your screen, that 590 south is backed up now to about close to Tryon Park. And the 490 westbound is showing a very slow go from East Rochester up towards 441. Lower left-hand side of your screen, that's the arrow pointing near that cone. They're going to pave Chiley Avenue near the 390 ramps for the day. They'll start that work in here very shortly. The rest of this is in pretty good shape. You got the sunglasses with you this morning? You're going to need them. With your traffic, I'm Tom George.
NewsSource 13 brought to you by the Rochester Auto Collection.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is a NewsSource 13 update.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Kriz. Here are the headlines on this Thursday. A Marshall High School graduate who survived the USS Cole explosion is coming home this morning. Ed Love suffered a ruptured eardrum in the blast. At Marshall High, members of the junior ROTC program are preparing for his return. The school will dedicate Saturday's playoff game to the former football player. And a plan to buy out the Genesee Brewery by management moves forward today with a vote. Stockholders will decide whether the move should happen. Coming up at 8:25, we'll introduce you to some body-slamming wrestlers, and you won't believe what they're selling. Here's Tom George with airborne traffic.
The expressways are about standard where they should be for this time of the morning. In other words, the volume's there with the usual slow go. There's no accidents or disabled out here. We got a couple of paving delays. One is on Chiley Avenue at the 390 ramps. The other one is out at Atlantic Avenue and Scribner Road in Penfield. And that'll be for the day, both of those. We'll update you with the traffic. I'm Tom George.
Thank you, Tom. We're starting out with the usual cool weather this morning. Live neighborhood weather shows now that in Rochester, anyway, we're at 49 degrees. We think we're going to come very close to 60 later this afternoon. Here's a look at the satellite image. We got some patchy low clouds, some fog in a couple of spots, but that's going to lift and clear pretty quickly. And then we're going to find a lot of sunshine. In fact, a lot of sunshine for the next couple of days. It's going to be a bit on the cool side today. Most of the day is going to be spent in the 50s, but the breeze picks up tomorrow. And we start to warm things up well into the 60s tomorrow. Here's a look at our weather forecast. Again, some patchy low clouds for now, but it should turn out to be a pleasant day. Temperature starts out in the upper 40s, the high temperature near 60. Now, tonight we're going to find clear skies. Again, a little fog developing in some of the valleys. Temperature is going to drop to about 42 degrees. Friday, breezy, noticeably warmer. The temperature is going to be approaching 70. And then Saturday and Sunday, we start to cool things down, but we should find a lot of sunshine as we go through the upcoming weekend. Kathy?
Looks like a good one, Glenn. We'll have more coming up at 8:25.
A preview of the Emerald Ball tonight at 6 in our Bright Spot.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Glenn Johnson. We're starting out with a little bit of patchy fog, some haze this morning. Temperatures are in the 40s right now, but we're going to find lots of sunshine as we go into the afternoon. The high near 60. Here's Tom George.
There's nothing out of the ordinary with expressways, I'll tell you that. Yeah, they're slow in the usual spots, but that's it. It's all volumes. Now, we got paving delays on Chiley Avenue near the 390 ramps for the day, paving Atlantic Avenue at Scribner Road for the day, and they're working out on Scottsville Road from Valentine Bridge to Paul Road for the day. A lot going on with the traffic. I'm Tom George.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is a NewsSource 13 update.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Kriz. It's 8:25. Weather and traffic reports are ahead. A Greece woman who survived a brutal attack 12 years ago is using the internet to keep her assailant behind bars. Gina Golding was stabbed 11 times by her former husband in 1988. Now she's collecting signatures online to convince a parole board to keep him in prison. Even though the website has only been up a few days, Gina has already received more than 200 signatures. It won't be long before a new system is in place that will hopefully find missing children quicker. The United Way and local police unveiled new technology yesterday that makes it possible. It's called TRACK, which stands for Technology to Recover Abducted Kids. The system produces high-quality color pictures and electronically sends them to the media within minutes. All local TV stations will be outfitted with the equipment. It should be ready next month. You may be able to pick up the pace when you travel on Route 531 in the future if 3 local lawmakers get their wish. The 3 Republican leaders from the Monroe County Legislature want the state's transportation department to look into raising the speed limit on 531 to 65 miles per hour. And would you believe some incredibly strong wrestlers are pitching the Bible? We're talking about the Power Team. The Christian alternative to the WWF performed at the Pierce Memorial Church before a sellout audience last night. The team uses stunts like brick breaking to attract people to church.
People are interested in that, and so it's more of a way to reach out to them. So I think, once they get there, they'll be like, hey, I think there's something really to these guys. Most people, when they wrestle, it's something negative, but here's somebody who's positive and trying to give me a good influence. So
The Power Team also has its own TV show. Coming up at 8:56, Kodak and the possibility of future job cuts. Here's meteorologist Glenn Johnson in Weather Center 13.
And Kathy, we got some punch to our weather forecast too. It looks like the nice weather's returning just in time for the weekend. Your weather forecast is coming up next.
NewsSource 13, brought to you by Futons and More.
Well, good morning. It's been a long time coming, but it looks like we finally have some nice weather that's going to last for a little while. Take a look at our temperature here in the city of Rochester. Live neighborhood weather shows a reading of 49 degrees. The satellite image shows that we do have some patchy low clouds, a little bit of haze here and there, but we're going to find a good deal of sunshine. Most of the wet weather at this point is now moving up into northern New England, and you can see all the clear skies stretching back through the Midwest. So all we're going to do at this point is warm things up over the next day or so. Tomorrow, we should be well into the 60s. Here's a look at our weather forecast then for today. Look for some patchy fog, some haze early this morning, but a good deal of sunshine today. It's going to be turning out to be a pleasant afternoon. A high temperature near 60. Then for tonight, we're going to find clear skies, temperature falling into the lower 40s. Our 3-day outlook Friday, breezy, warmer. We should be in the upper 60s. Partial sunshine through the weekend, and we cool things down through Saturday and Sunday. Here's Tom George. He's got the latest on the traffic.
Glenn, we're going to concentrate on some work delays for the day. People that travel around for a living, you should note that 490 both directions at the Gulf Avenue Bridge, where this is marked here on the map, will be down to a single lane today. While you look at this, I'm going to remind you they're going to be paving Atlantic Avenue and Scribner Road on this side of town, too. On the west side, they're working on Chili Avenue at the 390 ramps, paving it. They're also working on Scottsville Road from the Ballantyne Bridge area up to Paul Road. And in Gates, so you know where Treybolt Road and Cherry Road come together, there's a railroad crossing there. That's closed for the day, the crossing itself. With the traffic, I'm Tom George.
And I will be back again with more at 8:56.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Glenn Johnson. The usual chilly start. So we're in the mid-40s now. We're looking at some patchy fog and haze early on. But we're going to find lots of sunshine today. It's going to turn out to be a nice afternoon. The high temperature near 60.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is a NewsSource 13 update.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Kriz. Here's what's happening on this Thursday morning. It's an important day for the Genesee Brewery. Stockholders will vote on a plan that would enable management to buy out the business. It would keep Genesee and 300 jobs here. 2 General Cinema theaters at Marketplace and Pittsburgh Plaza are closing today. General Cinema says area multiplexes like Tinseltown hurt business. And Kodak's third quarter earnings are down from the same time last year. While film sales fell, overall sales climbed 5%. Kodak says it will slow down production because fewer orders are coming in. The Democratic Chronicle quotes the chief financial officer as saying if there are some job cuts, they will be minor. Coming up today at midday, we'll have an update on the Genesee Brewery vote and what it means for Rochester. Here's meteorologist Glenn Johnson in Weather Center 13.
Hi, good morning, Kathy. We started out with a little bit of patchy fog and haze this morning. That's lifting pretty quickly. Our temperature right now in the city of Rochester is up to 50 degrees. Take in the Canandaigua, they're still holding at about 49 degrees. The same for Newark. And then up near Parma, the temperature's at 53 degrees. We think we're going to be near 60 in most locations later today. Satellite picture shows a lot of clearing once you go back through the Midwest. And that means once we get some of this nice weather, it's going to last for a little while. Now, as we go through the day on Friday, noticeably warmer weather. The breeze is going to pick up out of the southwest with temperatures well into the 60s. Now, today, look for mostly sunny skies. Again, it's going to be a pleasant afternoon. The high temperature should be near 60 degrees. Then for tonight, mainly clear again, a little bit of fog in some of the valleys. Temperature's going to drop into the lower 40s. Friday, breezy, warm. We should be near 70. Saturday and Sunday would cool things down a little bit, but a lot of sunshine going through the upcoming weekend.
Please join Glenn and Mary McCombs at midday.
James Curtis takes the bench with a passion for justice.
Had you ever done this kind of work before? No, I haven't.
This exotic male dancer says they had no right to publish his picture.
I was dancing at the time while he took the picture. Did you know the picture was being taken? No, I did not. Yes, he did.
Was he stripped of his rights, or was it all part of the deal? Plus, they found a lost dog and took her to the vet.
It looked very malnourished, under its ideal body weight.
Now, who's responsible for the bill is in dispute. On the next Curtis Courts.
Curtis Court, today at 10 on 13.
We're the NewsSource13 weather team with some school fashion tips.
You know, Bill, we're not exactly fashion experts.
We might not tell you what to wear, but we can tell you how to dress. Our live neighborhood weather monitors weather as it occurs in your neighborhood.
Join me for NewsSource13 this morning. I'll have the latest weather report to start your day.
And Fast Track 13, Rochester's most accurate radar to pinpoint lake effect weather.
We'll give you the weather. You decide how to dress.
Think we should tell them those colors clash?
Not for nothing, Glenn. Have you ever noticed Bill's ties?
It was a revealing look at divorce through the eyes of children.
I just wish divorce was never even a word. I was really missed my dad and I wish he'd come back.
1 year later, life is very different.
And he said, you know what, Mom? I really like who I am.
That's huge. Then, what happens when a child of divorce grows up? A groundbreaking new study followed children of divorce for 25 years. The controversial results go against everything we thought we knew. Next, Oprah.
Oprah, today at 4 on 13.
Now the experts know something you've known all along. For over a decade, you made NewsSource13 Rochester's #1 news station. Recently, the Radio and Television News Directors Association has made NewsSource13 the winner of the Munro Awards for Best Newscast and Overall Excellence. They said NewsSource13 is a solid news department that offers comprehensive, thoughtful coverage. It is totally deserving of this award. But then you already knew that. Thank you, Rochester.
Legend has it that there are places in upstate New York said to be haunted. NewsSource13 Stan Munro visits some local haunts and stays the night alone.
What if I see dead people?
Find out what happens live on NewsSource13 This Morning, Fridays in October, with follow-up reports on NewsSource13 at 5. And watch for a special report from Stan on Halloween.
We'll be live. I hope.
You've heard the old joke, if you don't like Rochester's weather, wait 15 minutes. Well, it's no joke. Our weather is very changeable. And it takes a team of weather experts to stay on top of it. Some of us you know, some work behind the scenes. The NewsSource13 weather team is made up of 8 experienced, educated meteorologists, skilled in interpreting even the most challenging weather data. Rochester's weather may change, but we'll keep you one step ahead of it.
NewsSource13 weather team. More local news, more local experience. What's happening in Rochester today is right at your fingertips. RochesterToday.com. Updated 5 times a day, 7 days a week. You can't get fresher information. RochesterToday.com. More local news, more local experience.
This is WOKR 13 in Rochester.